U.S. and Israel have launched a joint military attack on Iran. Financial Secretary explains the transfer of money from exchange fund for northern metropolis. And a survey conducted found almost 60% of working women experience negative emotions such as anxiety. Good evening and welcome to TVB News. The U.S. and Israel have launched a joint military attack on Iran earlier today, roughly 8 months since the 12-day war carried out by the combined forces last June. Israeli officials said the operations could last for 4 days as U.S. President Donald Trump pledged to eliminate any nuclear threat from Tehran. Iran's Revolutionary Guard hit back with its first wave of drone and missile strikes on Israeli soil. The U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet Command headquartered in Bahrain was also subjected to a missile attack. Danny Zhou has the report.
The U.S.-Israeli preemptive strikes rocked multiple cities across Iran, including Isfahan, Qum and Tabriz on Saturday afternoon. Explosions were heard and seen in capital Tehran, and smoke was rising. The first strike took place near the offices of the Iranian Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Reports say 86-year-old Khamenei was not in Tehran at the time and has been moved to a safe place.
Short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their navy.
Trump reiterated his claims that Iran was seeking to rebuild its nuclear program and develop missiles to reach the United States before making an appeal to the Iranian people.
Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a statement to the Israelis that the joint operation was conducted in a bid to overthrow the Iranian regime. Air raid sirens were blaring in the Israeli port city of Haifa, where the USS Gerald R. Ford warship was about to dock, as Israel launched the first wave of attacks on Iran. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Earlier, the third round of U.S.-Iran nuclear talks broke up in Geneva without a deal. U.S. President Donald Trump said he was not happy that the Iranian side was not willing to give what the U.S. has to have. Danny Zhou again.
Donald Trump made the remarks on Friday while he was departing from the White House for a trip to the state of Texas. He expressed frustration over the slow pace of diplomatic efforts with Iran on the country's nuclear program.
They cannot have nuclear weapons, and we're not thrilled with the way they're negotiating. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. There's nothing close. I'd love not to use it, but sometimes you have to.
The Omani foreign minister, the mediator of the U.S.-Iran talks, said one of the biggest outcomes of the negotiations is Iran has agreed to never ever have nuclear material that will create a bomb. Meanwhile, the Iranian facilities for enriched uranium that came under attack in the U.S.-Israeli joint airstrikes last June are operating normally. But the International Atomic Energy Agency staff members' requests for on-site inspections were turned down. The institution has been unable to verify the situation and location of Iran's uranium stockpile for more than 8 months. Amid heightened tensions, the U.S. Embassy in Israel announced Friday that the U.S. Department of State had authorized the departure of non-emergency U.S. government personnel and their dependents. The Chinese Embassy in Israel issued security alerts, urging Chinese nationals to avoid unnecessary travel. The Chinese Embassy in Iran reminded Chinese nationals to closely monitor developments of the security situation, as well as avoid filming government and military facilities. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Hong Kong government on Saturday urged residents to avoid traveling to Iran and Israel amid the rising tensions in the Middle East. Mo Sinai reports.
The Security Bureau has issued a red outbound travel alert on Iran and Israel since last August, meaning the countries could pose significant threat to personal safety and warned residents not to travel there. For those who are already in the countries, authorities remind them to monitor the situation and avoid protests or large gatherings. The Bureau said residents who need assistance can contact authorities, such as by using the 24-hour hotline of the Assistance to Hong Kong Residents Unit of the Immigration Department at 1868. Tensions in the Middle East have never died down since the engagement of Israel and Iran in the 12-day war in June. An international relations academic said that U.S. hoped to overthrow the Iranian government through this operation. He said that the conflict could last for a month. While U.S. and Israel have strong military power, the academic said that Iran is not short of allies such as Hezbollah and Houthis. Moments 9, TVB News.
Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Rosanna Law said Hong Kong may welcome more than 200 cruise ships this year. The budget mentions more supportive measures will be provided to the cruise ship sector, including a subsidy of $46 million for cruise companies. Speaking on a radio program, Law said that the city had hosted 189 vessels last year, reaching nearly 90% of pre-pandemic level. Law said she had heard that a mainland homegrown vessel would berth at Hong Kong toward the end of the year. The budget proposed transferring $150 billion from the Exchange Fund to support the development of the northern metropolis and the city's infrastructure. Financial Secretary Paul Chan said the economic outlook for the next few years remain bright, so such allocations will not be a regular occurrence.
The budget introduced several measures aimed at accelerating the development of the northern metropolis. To cope with the massive construction and development costs, the Exchange Fund will be used again after 42 years, with a total of $150 billion being transferred over a 2-year period for infrastructure development. When asked whether the transfer would continue over the next 2 years, even if the Exchange Fund incurs losses, Financial Secretary Paul Chan said no other transfers are expected besides the current $150 billion. He added that the government is reducing increase in its expenditures while adding revenue appropriately. Chan said in the coming years, government finances will be stable. In previous years, the government's revenue mainly relied on land sales, with the figure previously exceeding $100 billion. But authorities are expecting an income of just $18 billion from the sale of 9 private residential sites offered this year. The FS said the government's finances will be supported by various revenue streams and not solely on land sales.
Secretary for Transport and Logistics Mabel Chan reminded the taxi industry that starting in April, they must provide at least 2 electronic payment methods. Chan recently held a Lunar New Year tea gathering with the taxi industry to promote new electronic payment arrangements. Starting April 1st, drivers must provide a QR code payment method or an octopus card or credit card payment method. Drivers who fail to provide this without a reasonable explanation will be in violation of the law and could be fined 5,000 Hong Kong dollars and imprisoned for 6 months. A survey conducted by the Hong Kong Federation of Trade Unions found almost 60% of working women experience negative emotions such as anxiety. The FTU hopes the society can provide a friendly work environment for women. Most 9 reports.
Between January and this month, the Hong Kong Federation of Trade Unions, or FTU, surveyed 562 women on their mental health. Among them, 308 were working women who also needed to take care of their families. About 69.5% of them said they had been suffering from bad sleeping quality, while 57.5% experienced negative emotions, including anxiety and anger issues. Despite 37% said they needed help, only 13% had sought treatment from professions such as family counselors or social workers. Financial costs and the lack of time were the main reasons for not seeking help. FTU proposes the idea of family care leave for female employees as a means to reduce their stress.
The implementation of family care leave can be approached gradually, starting with 1 to 2 days. The government and the large company to take the lead, with the practice eventually extended to SME.
The FTU also said the government could set up a $2,000 monthly baby allowance to support families with children aged between 0 and 3. Moments 9, TVB News.
And still ahead, A cargo plane in Bolivia carrying money crashed, scattering bills on the ground. And the Shaw Prize introduced a new computer science category. Welcome back. Bolivian officials said a cargo plane carrying money crashed Friday near the country's capital, La Paz, scattering bills on the ground and leaving at least 15 people dead and 30 others injured. Tracy Furness has more.
Bolivia's defense minister said a Hercules C-130 plane transporting newly printed Bolivian currency from the central bank of Bolivia was trying to land but veered off the runway in an airport in El Alto, a city adjacent to the capital La Paz, ending up in a nearby field. Firefighters were able to put out the flames that engulfed the aircraft. At least 15 people were killed, but the defense minister did not clarify if the dead were on the plane or in cars on a nearby highway. Bolivian Air Force General Sergio Lora said 2 of the plane's 6 crew members had not been found as of late Friday, adding the aircraft was arriving from the eastern city of Santa Cruz, where it had picked up its cargo. More than 500 soldiers and 100 police took control of the area to disperse hundreds of people trying to collect the spilled bills. Police and military personnel burnt the cash boxes in the presence of central bank president David Espinosa, who said the bills have no legal value because they have never entered circulation. Espinosa did not specify the amount of money being transported, but he said the banknotes had arrived in Santa Cruz from abroad. Bolivia's national airline, Bolivina de Aviación, announced the temporary closure of El Alto International Airport following the crash. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Some residents of Wangfu Court in Tai Po were invited to participate in a Lunar New Year punchai feast. Over 100 residents of Wangfu Court were invited to participate in a Lunar New Year punchai feast hosted by the Lions Club at a temporary housing estate in Kai Tak. 3 months have passed since the fire. The government expects to arrange for residents to return to the units in Wangfu Court in batches to salvage their belongings as early as the end of April. Some residents still hope to return to retrieve items of sentimental value. A woman said the most important things are photos of her children when they were young and items of great sentimental value. She added she might be afraid to go upstairs because seeing her home burned down would leave a painful impression. Established 24 years ago, the Shaw Prize recently introduced the computer science category with a monetary award of up to $1.2 million. The Shaw Prize Council believes the inclusion of the new award category could help increase Hong Kong's participation in international scientific research fields.
Founded in 2002 by late media mogul and co-founder of TVB, Sir Run Shaw, the Shaw Prize originally consisted of just 3 categories: astronomy, life science, and medicine, as well as mathematical sciences. Starting in 2004, the annual awards have been presented to more than 110 individuals, many of whom subsequently received other international awards, with 16 of them being Nobel Prize recipients. This, as the Shaw Prize Foundation said, it has noticed the rapid impact of computer science in people's daily lives over the past few years and decided to introduce this field.
I think, first of all, it's quite natural for a successful organization to think if it is possible to have some expansion, some new initiatives. People would start thinking about the possibility of a 4th prize. And I think computer science emerged quite naturally.
Preparations for the new award began some 2 years ago, with former HKUST president Professor Tony Chan serving as chair of the planning committee for the prize, while Professor Jennifer Shays, dean of the College of Computing, Data Science, and Society at the University of California, Berkeley, became the inaugural chair of the selection committee. Selection criteria for the computer science category remains the same as the other 3 categories. Winners will too be granted a $1.2 million monetary award, or around 9.38 million Hong Kong dollars.
The graduation ceremony for the Hong Kong Inter-School Civic Education Officer Academy was held at the police headquarters in Wan Chai today. Police Commissioner Joe Chow, his predecessor Raymond Siu, and the headmasters of more than 30 schools were among its attendees. 91 civic education officers graduated today. The Inter-School Civic Education Officer Academy was established by the ABC Education Foundation in 2024, with the institution selecting officer candidates among hundreds of primary and secondary school students. Of the 4 laboratory mice that went into space aboard China's Shenzhou 21 spaceship, 2 of them gave birth to triplets within 3 months of returning to Earth. Researchers say that mother mice have been to space are more prolific than ordinary mice, and the baby mice have different personalities. This pair of mouse parents who have been to space now live with their babies at the Institute of Zoology, Chinese Academy of Sciences. Researchers record their situation around the clock using cameras. This prolific pair of mouse parents went to space aboard Shenzhou 21 at the end of October last year and returned to Earth in mid-November. Researchers say that female mice that have been to space reproduce 2 to 3 more offspring than female mice on Earth. Researchers also found that the personalities of each litter of mice are different, and the first litter is the most socially anxious. And that's the news. Thanks for watching.